Hi, welcome to another episode of Luncheonette with Laura Diaz. This is our weekly show for foster parents and caregivers from Just-in-Time Training, part of QPI, the Quality Parenting Initiative. We hope you're enjoying our show. We had the privilege and special opportunity to speak with Mrs. Tanya Wilkins at the Florida State Foster Adoptive Parent Association Conference in Daytona Beach this week. We're going to get to that in a minute, but before we do, I had a couple jokes I wanted to share with you. So I have a foster child who I have since adopted, and his name is Al. The day before we were going to the court for his adoption, we were sitting at the dinner table together, and I looked over at Al and I said, "Al, aren't you excited about going to the court tomorrow and getting adopted?" And he said, "Is that when I get my driver's license?" Okay, one more. I know you all found that one funny, but I've got another good one. So I had another foster child at the time. His name was Jesse. So Al wanted a haircut. His hair had been quite long at the time. And so he says to me, "Mom, I want a buzz cut." And so Jesse looks over to me and he says, "Well, I want a Woody cut." So you can tell the Toy Story thing, Buzz and Woody, they were also known as Double Trouble. So with that being said, we want to hear from you. We know kids say the darndest things, and if you can send us funny things that your kids have said, send it to our Facebook page just look up Just-in-Time Training. We'll be anxious to read some of those, and we'll read a couple of them in a future upcoming episode. But now, let's take out those lunches, and I hope that you will enjoy watching this video of the interview I had with Miss Wilkins in Daytona Beach. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Wilkins. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I have to tell you, and I have to tell our viewers out there, that Mrs. Wilkins, she is the woman behind the man. And I have to tell you, I love what you said earlier today. We had a keynote address at the Florida State Foster Adoptive Parent Association, the keynote opening ceremony this morning. And I loved it when you said 2 for the price of 1. That was awesome, because I got to tell you, she is working hard for us, and she is a true advocate of foster parenting. So, Mrs. Wilkins, can you share with our audience out there, which is primarily foster parents, where did you get this passion and this enthusiasm? Why is foster parenting so important to you?
Foster parenting is just amazing. We had some foster children in our home, and what I realized is that, you know, they are not bad kids. They're kids that bad things have happened to. So what I found is that, you know, a lot of the things they just have not been taught. And my mother was in a situation where she was raised by her grandmother, and so it comes personally to me that she really felt like she wanted to break that cycle. And so I'm the product of the cycle being broken, in that she really tried to make a difference in her children, my life, and my brother's life. So that's why it's very, very special to me. And then what I learned is that those children just need love and instruction and all the wonderful things that you foster parents do.
So personally, you can relate, having done fostering yourself. That's exciting. How exciting for us to have, you know, you and the position that you're in to help us, and having experienced it personally, because it takes a whole new level of, you know, commitment and passion when you've done it yourself. So you have been so instrumental in this new initiative. I know that I was with you in a meeting, and it was only a few months ago when we started talking about doing recruitment campaigns, and originally I think we were looking at doing it maybe, you know, CBC, you know, individually, and then we said we should put together a statewide campaign for this recruiting, and you kind of took the bull by the horns and ran with that. Do you want to share a little bit about some of the things you've been working on in the website and this campaign?
I'd love to. I work some with Carol Schofer through Quality Parenting Initiative, QPI, and what I realized was that things that frustrated me in the system, things that frustrated me in preparing our foster children that we had with us, getting out and getting to college and getting their education and those life skills and things that frustrated with me is things that you all are frustrated with. And so many of the things can be changed in the system. And when we found out a few things, and I would take it to my husband's secretary and say, who makes this rule? Can we change it? When he said I do, I'm like, okay, then go change it. And so he was able to change those things that could be changed to make what you do so much easier. And so what we realized is that we changed a couple things and changed a few more things, and it just snowballed. And so we ended up getting foster parents. Y'all are the first line to tell us what works and what doesn't. We had the CBCs all excited about a statewide recruitment campaign. And ultimately the reason why we looked at this is how can we get these children to be successful? How can they have the tools? And the foster parents are the ones that's with the children that give them and teach them and drives that. So we had to look at how we could help things be so that you could do what you do.
And so what's the ultimate goal of the recruitment campaign? I know that you put out some materials that had some statistics on it, so I know there's a few things you're hoping that this is going to achieve. What are those goals that you're hoping to achieve?
We looked at the children and we realized that a lot of the children are not graduating on time. The state children, the foster children, have college paid for. They just can't get there. They don't have the grades for that. So when we started looking at what the children need to be able to go to college and to break the cycle and to make a difference in their lives, we realized that it was the foster parents that were going to do that. So what we looked at is the different things that needed to be changed, and the different ones to be able to do that. So then we approached the CBCs and we approached different ones, and everybody has just joined this effort and just as a team, and that's what's going to make a difference.
And I noticed on some of those reports that you'd put out, some of the things you're trying to look at is maybe having less children in one home, so there can be more emphasis on that, trying to keep some siblings together. What are some of those dynamics you're looking at?
Well, I know your question before, I didn't completely answer it. David and a lot of the businessmen and a lot of the legislators, different ones want metrics. They want numbers. And I've more than once, said, look at me. It's not about the number. It's about the quality. And so, they've come up with a 1,200 number, and we lost more foster parents than we got and recruited last year. So we're looking at that. So the 1,200 number is kind of a little bit of a made-up number. We recruited, I think, 1,000 last year, so we want more than that. So it was we figured out, okay, 1,200, but it's not about that.
Right.
It's about the elevating the foster role position and the foster parent that it signifies as what you do. I look at the CBC, I look at DCF, and I look at the foster parent as being a co-parenting role. And if we are not there to support you, you can't do what you do. So I'm looking at, our goal would be to have one sibling group or 2 children in one home. And that's kind of a made-up number as well, but the reason was that is so that you could get to the children and their needs met. And when you have, years ago, I met a lady here that said 20 years ago, she had 14 children in her home. And it's hard. I have 3, and it's hard for me to meet each need. And so that's what we're just trying to make it easier for you to focus on what they particularly need in each individual.
Well, it's an interesting point, because I know that you have been such a wonderful partner in our QPI process, and I was talking to one of our exhibitors out there, actually from Miami-Dade. I'm giving a shout out to Miami-Dade because she had a magnifying glass. I don't know if you saw it on her table, but what I liked about this, and I think it ties in exactly with what you're saying, is she said they want to look at everything through the QPI lens. And I love that, because we don't want to just sit here and say, oh, 1,200, sign up now, but it is through that QPI lens, which I think is, of course, working as a team, the partnership plan and that collaboration, but also, being a quality parent and particularly for the foster children in the home, because there is so much more needs, and with that, I realize that you have also been working a lot on this whole Partners for Promise project.
Yes, yes.
And I want to talk to them because what I love about the Partners for Promise is, you know, it's engaging the community in also helping us and supporting us. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and what we can expect as foster parents to get from that?
Absolutely. You know, as you know, so many people in the community do so much to help you. And when David first took the role as secretary, we looked at it and said, you know, there's people that, like our orthodontist, a friend of ours, an orthodontist, he was already putting, you know, braces on foster children's teeth. There were, you know, different things. And I said, you know, we need some way to thank these partners. Or we didn't call them partners at that point, these people that are doing for these. And so David, in his brilliance, thought of Partners for Promise, and it just snowballed. And what was really neat about it was the CBC's already had those partners like we had, and you do, and people do frequently that help you out with certain things. But with the CBC's help, we wanted maybe 500 in a couple months or something. There was 1,000 that signed up in a month. I mean,
wow,
it's just amazing.
That is
and I
amazing.
think it's like 1,400 at this point. And it's across the state. It's all different kind of partners. But what's really neat about this is different ones want to be mentors. Different ones, there's career counseling that some of them want to do. There's, you know, braces. There's medical, you know, supplies for those the medically challenged children. There's just the gamut of services that these business partners and different ones want to do. So what we want to do is allow the Partners for Promise to team with the foster parents and to team with the caseworkers that are out in the field. And they hear a need, then they can go and to the website. We have a coordinating wonderful Chris Felici, who is coordinating all this. And what she's doing is trying to do it by region and need, so that they can really get to get you what you need for your child. So if the child needs something and you don't have that support through, you know, the government or services or whatever, then those partners are standing there ready, and it's exciting.
That's fantastic. Where would we find that information?
There is a Partners for Promise website, and we can get that for you.
We will post it on
Thank
this.
you. I don't have it right here. Thanks for covering. And it's well, you go to the DCF website. It will forward you to the Partners for Promise website, and you know, it's just amazing because we get these new partners, I mean, every week, and so it's just all Chris can do to keep, you know, coordinating and all this. But it's really exciting. I was meeting with some caseworkers this week, and she said, I have a child that needs this, and I said, go get on and we'll find out, we know what their needs. And I've got a mom who needs some dental work, and so I wrote down this morning, I said, I'm going to find a dentist in that area, and we've got those, and it's exciting.
It is very exciting. A lot of times I think that's one of the biggest challenges is finding the resources, and I love the way it helps us. You know, we get a subsidy or a stipend of a certain amount of money for the children, and I think that these community partners in offering some of these services kind of adds a benefit to the foster parents in being able to, you know, to meet more of those needs, and sometimes for reduced fees or no fees. So it's huge ultimately.
That's what we found is we worked with foster children for about 15 years now, and what we found is certain needs that they met. You know, they were through Florida Baptist, but they didn't have the budget to provide those certain, you know, braces is not in their budget, you know, but I mean, a beautiful smile and how that increased the self-esteem of a child. And so what we realized is there's these partners out there said, I'll do it, you know, I'll do 2 a year or whatever, and it's just been the neatest. It's been such a blessing, and to be able to thank them is amazing as well, because they do it from their heart.
I think that's very exciting. So we went over a lot of initiatives earlier today. Which initiative is really your passion? What are you hoping to see accomplished this year in foster care in our system that's really going to make a difference to children and to their foster parents?
I think, you know, they're all exciting, you know, and each piece has an exciting, but I think as we look at letting kids be kids, you know, we have put, you know, and a lot of it has been that we need to put structure in protecting these children, but what we've done is put so much structure in that they're not allowed to be normal children. And, you know, that's where we're looking at. So I had foster children come in my home, and they couldn't do what my own children are doing. And so that's, you know, we're just creating barriers. And I think with that is going to be just their self-esteem, like I said, their self-esteem and their independence and everything is just going to get so much higher, and they're going to have courage to, you know that they're going to be normal. That's one. And then just the elevation of the foster parent, just like what the big adopted Florida, or a big adoption campaign was, 5 years ago or whatever, and everybody knew what it was, and everybody knew that, how awesome it was to be an adoption parent. I said, oh, no, wait a minute here.
Right.
That's all great, but look at the foster parents.
Right.
You and your co-parenting and working with the biological parent if the child can then go back home, or you and you're getting ready, getting the child ready to go back home. I mean, you all do so much, and to be able to mentor the biological parent and the child, and then give that child back or get that child ready for adoption, I mean, it takes a special heart to be able to do that.
Well, I always like to say that we're not just fostering a child, we're fostering a family, and it truly makes impact in a big way. Communities and the state and the country, I mean, it is huge, I agree. And really, ultimately, isn't it in the best interests of the child? Because the most of the time, they're going to go back home, so why wouldn't we want to make that the best experience possible for them?
Absolutely, and that's what you all are doing. I mean, I met with 2 yesterday that have just wonderful relationships with a biological mom, and they were young and just, they had not been taught. And I specifically asked the biological moms, I said, well, what was your home life like? They had never been taught. So then they have a child, and so they aren't able to be with that child and teach that child. So what you all are doing is coming along and teaching a whole generation of a different way to be and to be in society and to give back. So you're breaking that cycle. You're changing a whole future here for this generation, for the ones that are coming up, not just the parents, but also the children.
Okay, well, we're about out of time, but I have a present for you. Just for being a guest on my show today, I am going to give you a Luncheonette t-shirt. And on the back, it's going to remind you of when the time is to watch it. So,
well, anytime I can have anything with your name on it, it's a good day. Because she is wonderful, and you all know how wonderful she is. Dedicated foster parent, and just you have made such a difference in many, many lives, and I thank you. And it's an honor, privilege to be here.
Thank you, and thank all of you too out there, because all of our foster parents, you are wonderful, and we just appreciate everything you do. So, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wasn't that awesome? I was so excited to have that interview, and she just exudes passion about foster parenting. It's just so exciting, and just knowing that the Secretary and Mrs. Wilkins have kind of walked in our shoes, I think it makes a world of difference. So I hope that you are going to send us some awesome lines that your kids are saying to you. We're going to be really excited to watch the Facebook pages. It should be fun. And like I said earlier, we're going to read some of those in future episodes of Luncheonette. But I want to leave you guys today with a few more little interviews that we were able to get from our conference in Daytona Beach. So I hope you join us again next week and enjoy these interviews. See you later. I'm here with Trish Allen, and Trish is running the Tweeners Next Gen Conference. So Trish, can you tell everybody how it's been going with the Tweeners?
It's actually been going really well. We've had some really good speakers that have kept them pretty focused and having a lot of questions, of course, and they're getting some answers, and they really like that.
What would you like to say to our foster parents out there?
Miami-Dade and the Florida Keys are alive and well with Quality Parenting Initiative. We now have a QPI lens that we're going to be looking at everything to make sure that we that we really do put our QPI lens on when we start working together. We have to partner in this to make this work. And Trudy Petkovich, who is the president of the Foster Parent Association here and is putting on this beautiful conference, is my co-partner. And we've been training all over Miami-Dade and the Keys and just trying to raise awareness of what quality parenting is about.
I see you're holding some beautiful posters, Laura Lynn, and they say childhood only happens once. Don't say no before you know. So what do you think about this normalcy, some of the changes that we've been hearing coming down from the state?
I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's needed to happen for a long time. I think that every foster parent, every case management, every licensing needs to know that normalcy promotes normalcy, and in other words, in children. They can go out and play soccer without having to have somebody sit there on the field with them or background screen a coach who's teaching them, as long as they know who the coach is. And they can go boating, which is really, really cool. They can go outside. They can have fun on watercrafts with a foster parent. You know, they can play archery. These normalcy posters is what we want our foster parents to be able to take kids to, so that kids can spend the night with their friends. They can go to parties, play dates, just like everybody else, so they can feel good about who they are. It helps their self-esteem when they know they can do things such as these.